Blakey and Tugs, they're talking Cardiff City and some other stuff. Blakey and Tugs, Dolly asked the questions on Blakey's Bootroom. Will always be blue.
Good afternoon, welcome to the latest edition of Blakey's Bootroom here on Wales Online. Steve Tucker and the man himself, Nathan Blake, in the studio to discuss all things Bluebirds.
Rugby.
I
was going to say, it's nice to have Dolly back now. Wales are out of the World Cup. Apparently, I heard. I heard
like Gaz Rogers.
No, I love Gaz Rogers. You know, his glory-seeking, egg-chasing days are over, and now he's back for.
What's that thing there?
That's my wallet.
Oh, okay.
Nothing
How's it got legs on it?
Stuffed.
When he walks off, is it every time near the bar?
It's stuffed with management wages. Look at it. He can hardly close it. Look at it. It's terrible.
How are we anyway?
Oh, good, mate. Yeah, it's nice to see you back, mate. Nice to have you back. Tea and coffee for two.
You know, you were doing that bit of acting. I'd stop it now. It's not working. That sincerity thing that you do.
You don't like that?
No, I don't like it. Wow.
How are we then? Obviously, 0-0 Preston this weekend. There's 90 minutes you won't be able to ever get back.
It was like I had to drive for 3.5 hours to get there. It was like one of those games. If it had been in my back garden, I'd have closed the curtains and gone in and watched Bargain Hunt. You know what I mean? For a bit of excitement. No, not the greatest game.
Shame, it sounded like a sort of a real drop in what we've seen recently. The progression.
I thought so. I thought so. I mean, when you say Preston, you know. On a normal day, I mean, it's a contrast. And they went to Brighton, they got the point. They probably didn't deserve it. It was battling, and you come away, you're like, great tabletop in Brighton. At Preston, the impression you get, that I got anyway, was any side with real aspirations of going up, they're going to go to Preston, and even if it's a rubbish game and they're playing badly, in the 75th minute, they're going to knock one in and think, great, and come away with 3 points. Cardiff didn't do that. The result then, all right, the point away, the result wasn't great. The real problem was the performance again. It was a real, I think a lot of the coverage has been saying, a little slip back to old habits. That you thought that Slade has done so well in burying all that, but there was that lack of fluency again, that lack of urgency. Like, you know, when I said it in the piece, you don't want to say it, but like a real lack of desire there, you know, like against a side that, you know, this Preston so low on confidence. I don't think they've won in like 9 games now. They haven't won at home all season. Yeah. You just couldn't help.
A promotion team, that's 2 points.
Yeah.
Lost.
Yeah, a playoff or promotion side.
If you're seriously talking about promotion, playoffs, that's 2 points dropped. And if you look at Rotherham, then that's 5 points dropped. Because those are the places you go, even if you get out of jail, nick a 1-0 and get back to Cardiff. What you don't want to be doing is going and dropping points at those sorts of places. If you're serious, listen, they are serious about trying to get up, you know what I mean, get promotion. Every team in the league is trying to stay up or get up. That's the objective. But, you know, Cardiff really need to have a look at themselves and start to decide whether they are going to go for it or they're not, because at the moment they seem to be, you know, like we say, 1 week we think, or a couple of weeks we think momentum, go in, and then you have this sort of crash. And you're not going to play well every game, but you don't have to play well to give the impression that you're going for it. Like, you know what I mean? You're not always going to play well, but you can still. By the sounds of I didn't see the game, I've seen the highlights, and the highlights favoured.
That must have been quick. Here's the 10-second
highlights.
highlight.
Preston more than they did us. But on the radio, listening to the commentary, it seemed like we kind of got out of jail, and that's a bit disappointing.
They started slowly again.
Religiously.
Early on. you know, Preston were all over them again, forcing the issue that they started. You can't help feeling it was an opportunity missed in lots and lots of ways.
But again, is what I'd say. I do think Cardiff, the way they are mentally, I think they've got the capability to go on and challenge for promotion. But I just don't. I don't feel it. I do. That's why I say I think they will finish around about 8th or 9th. I've said it since day one.
That was the most. To be honest, I mean, to be fair to them, I think it's been a good start to the season. That was the most disappointed I've been watching them this season, even though they didn't lose. I mean, even in the losses.
The positive you can take from it is they haven't lost again, right? So if they go after Christmas and they start turning these away points into 3 points, you'll look back at these points and say, well, it's a good point picked up. But it means you're going to have to go to the likes of Middlesbrough and places like that, because what seems our away games have all been not easy, but middle to lower half teams. I don't think we played anyone.
Oh, no, I mean, they had Brighton.
Yeah, well, that's the only one, isn't it?
I don't know. It's all merging into one long thing.
Yeah.
Can we lay any blame at the international window disrupting the flow? Obviously, there was a couple of injuries as a result of that.
Well, possibly.
Manga's been out anyway, I know. But
well, it's funny because you obviously that is a point, I suppose. I mean, they did have people away and people going to strange places. I mean, obviously, we were talking to Gary Monk last week in Swansea-wise about them having. You're not allowed to say that on this show. Excuse me.
Yeah. But a few more internationals.
Well, we've got a few more, but talking a lot about, because they're the same. They've often faltered, with Watford recently, and I mean, yeah, it could possibly be that. I mean, more pragmatically, of course, Manga. Again, he was just turning into having a nightmare season, isn't he? You're starting to get the kind of Dickachoy worries that he's going to have one of those seasons where you're lucky to see him.
Is this the Bruno Manga we were saying is the man?
No, he's injured.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry,
he got injured, did he?
Playing for Gabon. He's out for like 9 weeks.
I didn't even know.
Sorry, man.
8 or 9 weeks. A bit of mystery surrounding it. Cardiff didn't seem to know
Well,
too much
I don't think Gabon are the type of guys who get on the phone that often. Yeah. I mean, I spoke to Russell Slade about it, and there was definite frustration from him when he was saying, we can't even communicate with them. What are they doing? Because he picked it up in training. He played in the one game on the Friday, and then they had a game. Gabon had a game on the Monday, and he got injured in training over the weekend. So that was that, which
Cardiff
is a big blow.
should send a liaison officer over, make sure that doesn't happen again.
There's
no good saying, well, they're not contacting us, so we kind of shrug our shoulders, go and make contact, make it happen. You know what I mean?
But he's getting these niggles as well. He obviously had that knee in Holland, or shall I say Netherlands? Sorry, because we had a complaint that I called it Holland apparently the other day. I'm used to getting complaints, but calling Holland, I've not had that one before. But so the Netherlands, he had that, and then he had that shoulder injury that was ongoing, and now this is it's just turned into a thing. And even worse, maybe Cameron Jones.
Playing
for Trinidad.
Again, that's
he's playing for Trinidad. He has picked up a shin injury, which we understand has been x-rayed and is not broken, but and I think in Trinidad they were saying 2 weeks out, tissue injury, something to do with the shin or something or other. I think Cardiff are doing a scan today on it, and obviously they're hoping
it's not broken.
Well, apparently it's not. There's been an X-ray and it's not broken, but they're doing a scan to suss out the actual extent of the damage. He was missed at Preston because he's always like, you know what it's like with him, because there were a lot of stuff going in and around the box. You just thought maybe, just possibly, and that brings us. I mean, you got to.
Sammy Amiobi.
I was just about to bring that up. I mean. I've been a big advocate.
I don't understand this. I can't understand it.
The problem with Amiobi, he's one of those guys that when it's going well and he looks all laid back, you're like, wow, this guy. Yeah. When it's going badly and he's all laid back, you're going, hey, you, figure your act together, pull yourself together. It's like, it looks kind of lazy then. And this at Preston was definitely a case of him looking. I mean, he had a really good chance, I think. I'm not sure it was the first half or the second. Like a volley in the box, and he ballooned it right over. It's like the laziest swinging it and put it over, and you were just like, got to bury that. That was that moment of nicking the one goal kind of thing. He puts that in. That's a different thing. So he's been pushing all season for starts, and I've been really, he said those great impactful moments off the bench. The 2 starts he's had, Rotherham with a sending off was a bit of a weird game. he's hardly earned the right to go banging on Slade's door saying, right, start me now against Borough, you know, I'm the man. It was a disappointing performance, I think, from him in the end.
Yeah, so it hasn't quite worked, is it? That was the one that got you really excited in the summer, wasn't it?
It did, yeah. I thought it was. I mean, a lot of people were saying a lot of the reaction after the game was his levels of fitness again, which I cannot understand. It's either if he's, it must be the way he just is then, because you know you would think if 6 weeks ago Russell Slade was mentioning his fitness, then you would work on it. Yeah. Not just the player, but the coach and the manager would get him doing extra running and what have you, extra stuff in the gym, extra core stability, and you know, after 3 or 4 weeks and 2 or 3 games, our problem should disappear. So I don't know. It's
he described himself as, because he was up for interview on Friday ahead of the game, and he described himself as 2 weeks behind. So I mean, I'm no expert. You'll know more. But I don't know how long does that 2 weeks have to stretch on? You know, when does one catch it up? You know, I mean, we're almost in November. Surely I missed 2 weeks in the summer.
You can't be saying that.
I missed 2 weeks in the summer. I'm still not fit. Surely there's a way of catching it up. But that was disappointing.
He's a talented player, but there's a reason why he's on loan at Cardiff City at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I suppose, as I said, that style of it.
I don't know.
That style of his can be. It can be as frustrating as it can be exciting. And it was frustrating at Preston. But a lot of them were.
Well, most of them, if not all of them, were. But Craig Nunes, he was the fans' man of the match.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Yeah.
Changed the game a little bit.
We've been saying on here for ages, I mean, Blakey's been, I think we were talking about it last week when you said, or the week before, when you said, only so long you can keep knocking on the door of the first team before you're like, well, hang on, what the hell do I have to do then? You know, sort of bugger you, sod you or whatever.
Special team is not win.
Well, how would you rate Pilkington and Rowles? They started the season well, but how have they been?
I thought Rowles was good in the first half at Preston. I thought he was one of, the one moment,
steady Eddie,
the one moment of quality he produced almost led to a goal for Mason. It was only a block that stopped it. Rowles, I think he came off at half time with more of a precautionary on a hamstring pull, so that's something we'll have to look at. But no, I thought he looked fine. I thought Pilkington was poor again, though. Personally, I thought he had a really quiet game, and I don't think anybody could. If against Borough now coming up, we were to say if Rowles is fit, Rowles, and you've got Noon the other side, and Pilkington finds him on the bench, I don't think. I would be amazed if someone cannot give you a big argument against it, and say no, this is a ridiculous decision. I honestly think Noon, he came on at half time. The second half was better than the first, but then again it had to be better than the first because the first was so bad it would have had to just be like the second half would have been like everybody just go home and have a cup of tea or whatever.
Is there anything you can put it down to? Because it's difficult when you don't see the away game. You just see a couple of highlights. You can never get the full extent of it over the radio. I
think what happens is they're starting slowly and it's setting the tone of the game. They're not picking it up. Yeah. Right, they did a bit in the second half, but I think that they're just not coming out of the blocks quickly enough.
As you mean to go on.
Exactly, and it's giving teams like Preston that bit, that kind of like, well, they're not all that.
Yeah. They're there for the taking, actually.
Like, for example, Rotherham were absolutely battering Cardiff with 11-11, as we said. So it's something that's going to have to be looked at. And it's a little worrying in the sense of, it's like we said, remember the back end of last term, of last season, they were great on the road, you remember, for a while then. They were unbeaten all the season. And at home, they were a little bit
that's what happened, wasn't it? They couldn't win away. The away record was embarrassing. Yeah. And they were picking up their points at home. Then it totally flipped.
It's kind of, hang on, is it flipping again? I can't. There's so many flips. I can't remember if it's flipping back again or staying the same. But now they're looking like. I mean, at home looking at this ahead of the Borough game, they've only lost once at home and drawn one. I mean, they lost to Hull. I actually wasn't at that game, but from my esteemed colleagues whose opinion I trust said they actually played really well there. So they seem to be, again, home. And now the away form now is starting just to elude them a bit. So that's something for Russell Slade to look at. I will say, if you're not a Russell Slade fan, and there's a lot of people out there who are not Russell Slade fans, to be fair, if you'd sat in the Preston game, you'd have come away and gone, what did I tell you? I told you we're not going to go up under him. I told you we can't do this. It was one of those afternoons where all those old prejudices, what Russell Slade thought had buried under the thing, was suddenly unearthed again and gone, look, here are the failings, this is the guy. Nobody's pressing any panic button. I'm just saying that it was a poor performance.
Can I ask you, what was the away support like?
Well, I mean, God, fair play to anyone who was there. Was it 500, 600? I can't remember.
Well, my old mucker, Mr. Ewers, he travels up to...
We get name checks, can't we?
Most
Mr. Ewers.
Mal.
Mr. Ewers, good old Mr.
Old Mally
Ewers.
Mal. He travels to most away games, and he was saying, like, they're struggling to sell the coaches for the away games now.
Well, yeah, I must
So
admit,
is that a reflection of...
was everyone staying and watching the rugby?
Maybe.
Was everyone staying on like Doley and watching the rugby? And not taking an interest?
Yeah, I think you
Maybe.
can't underestimate the impact of the rugby.
They're usually pretty good away, aren't they? And the fans.
Yeah, the away
the
fans, that's
are
what I'm saying.
hardcore
They're
fans.
rarely affected by stuff like that.
No, indeed.
The away fans
I'm not going to start slagging off the away fans. They all hate me enough already. I can't.
No, I'm just. I was when he was speaking to me about it. He was. It's obviously disappointing. You know what I mean? Because the away fans are the.
I tell you what, if that was your first away game, you would hardly be rushing out to buy your next ticket. Sorry, mate.
That's right. No, Carl, just really summing up what you said. Old habits will never die as long as Russell Slade is in charge.
Oh, right.
He's happy to stay, but the supporters have voted with their feet. I mean, what about? I mean, Russell Slade's big thing before the start of the season was judge me after 12 games, wasn't it? Do you remember him saying that? Quite a lot.
Hope that wasn't 12 then.
No, 12 is tomorrow.
12 tomorrow.
They've played 11 so far. You know, they're not going to change too much from where they are. It's a reasonable return. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
I think so.
Considering you were sat here at this before the season started saying, you know, he's got to start well. If he doesn't start well, he's gone. You know, he'll be gone by September, October.
I mean, let's be fair. I was saying it. Slade was feeling it himself. Remember that press conference when he came out and said, "Oh, you all thought I'd be down the road." So it was obviously at the front of his mind as well that he had to go off to a good start. No, I think it's been a good start.
He just gave you that one on the plate, didn't he?
That was fine. But no, saying that about Preston, I tell you what, let's call that a blip. Because that's as disappointed as I've been. Let's call that a blip, a hangover, a bad day at the office, whatever. You know, and anyway, they didn't lose till a point. Overall, you'd have to say it's been a good start. What are they, 3 points off the playoffs, 8th or whatever they are? They're poised. You just...
Yeah, they're in. That's what I like. They're in striking distance now. That can go one or two ways.
Exactly. I mean, that is the problem, right? I mean, not the problem, but that is the situation.
You don't feel at the moment it's going where you want it to go, is it?
Exactly. If somebody had put me on a rack and said, right, you must tell us what is going to happen now, or we're going to torture you, whatever, I would be worrying about them actually sliding in, that Preston being the sign of something to come, rather than a one-off. But
because it's already been there.
Just bubbling under the surface.
It's a good benchmark tomorrow, right, for the 12th judgment game, isn't it?
It's great.
Home against a good footballing team like Borough, who they're gonna be up there challenging.
Got to be. I think they're third now. Although they had a really disappointing result. I think they drew at home 0-0 with Fulham, and I was looking at some interviews with their boss. And
Fulham are one of them as well. They can blow hot and cold, can't they?
They lost to Reading before that as well.
Yeah,
well, apparently they were accusing Fulham of time wasting in like the second minute or something like that.
Go on, kid.
And they did a successful job of it for the next 88 minutes, obviously. But so they're coming hurting. But yeah, Borough, I think from the start people said Borough are going to be up there, and so it's proving. So yeah, a really good test for Cardiff tomorrow.
Indeed. What about Joe Mason? Me and Tux were talking about Joe Mason. Slade earlier this week described him as he's going to be my 20-goal.
I think he said
season.
Do you know what gets me?
He said 15.
He's on 5 at the minute.
Do you know what gets me is we've had Makeda.
We've had about
he's
20
number one. Exactly. It's only we haven't. It's been a year.
There's no one you feel is going to get.
No, my problem is as the manager, you got to know who your 20-goal striker is and stick by him. And if they go for 5 or 6 games where they don't score, you stick by him regardless.
Well, I suppose Mason
started. But what
Mason's doing fine. I mean, he had a poor game, but they all did.
My point is, Kenwin's a 20-goal striker in this division, no problem. I think Joe is capable of 20 goals, as he's proved in this division. But we've had Makeda, we've had what's the lad from
Ravel was in
Ravel.
Lafondra.
We've had Lafondra. We've had not so much Lafondra, but we've had Doyle. These are all people that Slade as now you can't afford to put people who you think, or you don't know they're not going to get 20 goals in the season, but I wouldn't have thought certain players have the capability to get 20 goals, but they've had runs of 4, 5, 6, 7 games. Now, you've got to get your front partnership. You've got to get that front line sorted and get it settled. And
well, in fairness, hasn't he done that? Isn't it Mason Jones? Isn't that been it? That's sort of been it. I mean, Jones was injured.
Jones didn't play the game before last, did he?
He didn't play at Rotherham, but I mean, but then again with Jones.
So then you're asking, well, there you go. You're gonna, but that's what I'm saying. You're gonna accept in 7 or 8 games. Okay, you have arrest them and say that then. I'm just. Okay. It's no secret, is it, to say I've just rested Kenwyn and maybe brought him on for 10 minutes or completely rested him. If you rested him, don't put him on the bench. Do you know what I mean? If you're saying, oh, we're gonna rest him with the ability to say, oh, if we need a goal in the last 15 minutes, he's there as a safety net sort of thing, as a safety precaution, then say so. But that helps himself out. That helps Russell out, I think, personally. I just think at the moment, I don't know. At one point it was Pilkington on one side. It was then whoever on the left-hand side and Kenwyn and
Rolls has been out there, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Consistent.
But then it's been what's his name? Amiobi has had a switch. You've got the lad on the other side. To me at the moment, it's not quite settled, and I don't think any striker, probably with the exception of Joe Mason, knows whether he's going to be involved or not. You like to feel, you like, as a striker, trust me, you like to feel wanted and sort of, I'm the main man.
I kind of disagree. I think, well, in a way, I think Mason Jones is their strike partnership. That's it. I mean, Jones was injured for Preston. All right, he didn't play at Rotherham, but you could say he was rested.
Was he rested? You could say.
I honestly can't.
You could say.
I can't even remember.
That's what I'm saying. To me, I don't remember.
He was on the bench.
He was on the bench, but I don't ever remember hearing that he was rested.
No. All right. Well, but I think it's got to.
So then he's not a strike partnership.
It's got to be fair to say that the Mason and Jones are the guys, aren't they? I mean, they play the majority of games.
From our perspective.
No, from Slade's perspective, they play the majority of games. So, and you have to say, with Mason now on 5, and I mean Jones's pedigree we already know, and I think he's got a couple or whatever.
He's got 4, isn't he? 3 or 4.
Is it 3 or 4? Is it? That's the correct call with what they've got in the club at this point in time, isn't it? They are the best 2 strikers. I mean, the one thing that's still a question mark about them has got to be as an actual partnership. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that as necessarily gelled. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I disagree. I thought they played quite well together. I thought they were getting on a roll together.
Well, good.
What about a mystery left field name then? Idris Sardi? Is that how
Idris, that good old Welsh boy.
Played for the development team first time, 60 minutes, was it?
He played against Portsmouth last week.
Was relatively impressed, thinks he could.
Said it was a good performance. Yeah, I mean, I see they're playing at Colchester today. I mean, this is going to show my ignorance. I'm not exactly sure whether that's another chance, because when I spoke to Slade after the Portsmouth game, he said Sardi did the hour, was fine. Fitness-wise, he didn't want to do any more, and now he came off, he was good. And we want possibly one more outing for him, and he was looking at 2 or 3 games to actually put him on the match day, in the match day squad on the bench. So I don't know if this game, I think there's a development game at Colchester, so I don't know if Sardi's going to play in that. It is today, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Lunchtime, yeah, maybe now, I don't know. Well,
just know nothing about it.
It's almost like, that's right, isn't it? It's almost like you just so got your fingers crossed, and you're kind of hoping he's not going to be like Guerra, is he? No, he's not going to be. He's suddenly going to become, and he's going to get fit, and he's going to be good. I think that's all you can almost do is cross your fingers and hope. Say he does get on the bench for the 7-side derby. What's your ideal scenario? He comes on 75 minutes and scores the winner. And then you're like, wow, then the buzz starts. Then it's like, wow, who is this guy? He comes up, scores a cracker. His confidence goes through the roof. Everybody's excited. Slade drops him. No, and then he goes on and. So let's hope for success, because that would be, if he comes in and he proves to be a winner. Yeah, I mean he was banging them in the French second division. Make of that what you will. Before his injury, but apparently that's all behind him now. His serious knee injury.
Guerra scored at the Nou Camp, didn't he, on the other night?
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
I say we should never have got rid of him. Pure class. Him and Velakonya. Bergstaller on the wing. Good old days.
Another couple of comments here. John, a couple of negative ones really, unfortunately. John W saying 50 years of fan and I've never been so bored with my team.
Really? No offence to John, but
wait.
There's been more boring time. What about that season where they drew 23 games?
Let me say this. What about the what John has said there? I know a lot of people are saying, even when they're picking up points. This is the worry for me. You're picking up points, and yet there's no satisfaction. Not even like, okay, out of 10, would you give them a 6 or a 7? No. The general consensus seems to be, out of 10, what would you give them? 3, 4? There just doesn't seem to be I
think people,
they're not enthused.
I think a lot of people maybe don't believe that they are going to make the playoffs. And
I don't think so.
Mediocrity, mid-table, it didn't sell, does it, to the wider fans?
No.
And they can't get enthused by it week in, week out. And
well, I'm not a big one for being over optimistic.
You can't tell someone how they feel, can you?
No, I can't tell him how he feels.
And he's been going there longer than you've been born. Oh no, he said
almost
50, not 70. Yeah, 70.
You're coming to my party. Please come to my... No, but I mean, for a start with that guy, I've seen more boring stuff than that in the last 50 years. Right, John or whatever, John. I've seen more boring. I can remember stood on the Bob Bank terrace like that, like everybody just like, oh my God,
Who was that? What team was that?
I think you were in it. No, you weren't in it. No, I don't know. What was it, 99 when they finished?
About
they finished.
Great dreams.
Nightmares. They were called. But anyway, okay, that's his opinion. If he thinks I don't see. It's not scintillating. It's not brilliant. It's competent.
No, this is what I'm saying. Even
what were we expecting
what was the last away draw?
Away draw?
Draw.
Brighton. Away.
Brighton. Coming back on radio, at the coach, the question was put to the coach, are you now back in Slater? It was like there's no enthusiasm. Something's got, like you're saying, something's got to click. We need a spark of something.
Well, it's obvious they need a run.
They need a win.
They need a little bang, and then it seems like, whoa. They're better to get everybody. Everybody needs that.
Yeah. A couple more then. Tony Evans saying, back to the usual Slade tripe on Saturday. 2 poor teams only saved by noon. Powder buff attack and Amiobi out of his depth. He says, Mike saying, with a lot of injuries now, have we got the squad to cope? What has happened to Kennedy? He says, Matty Kennedy looked so promising last season, but well down the pecking order. And,
very fringe. He's not on loan. No. No. Can't
that's a sign I don't understand.
Roy here says, we go to football to be entertained and the win is a bonus, he says.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to get on that one again. Let's not get on that one again.
Let's get on that one.
Let's not get on that one.
Let's get on that
How much time? Well, a lot of time. No, I think there's I'm not known for my optimism. I'm known as a despondent guy, but I think I'm not known for being overtly optimistic, but I think there's a little bit of doom and gloom going around when it's unnecessary. Crikey, all right. The football's not brilliant. They're 8th in the table, 3 points off the playoffs, 11, quarter of the season gone, or whatever you want to call it.
They've got the ability to do it.
They fulfilled, apart from maybe this imaginary scintillating football, they've fulfilled your criterion, which you said at the start of the season. You said, get to 12 games in, get to whatever you said, be in striking distance of the playoffs, be nestled in 8th or 9th or... They're there. Well, and also you said at this point of the year as well to be like that. I know you want it in January as well.
Yeah,
But there's no reason to suggest now they won't be there in January.
Yeah.
So that's so far, in a way, it's job done. So
But that's I'm not making that point.
I prefer them to be.
I'm not making that point at all. I'm just trying to play kind of devil's advocate from a fan's perspective. Yeah, why we're asking the question, why aren't the fans enthused?
Well,
it's not. Forget where we are in the league. We both all of us share the optimism that Cardiff can go from 8th into the playoffs and challenge for promotion rather than drop out. So they're in striking distance. We all know that. Even fans can see that. What they're saying, what I'm asking is why aren't the fans enthused?
Well, I think
when they're getting results.
Right, Slade is a massive factor.
Why?
Because he's the least popular manager for years.
That can't be solely down to...
People didn't want him appointed, and people feel that his brand of football is not good enough. So unless he's ripping up the league, you're going to get decisions. Like I say, he can't. Like I say, you have one bad performance, and that chap on there was just saying Slade's typical tripe. That was it. It's like one game really, and you get that. Fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their comments, but personally, I think it's harsh.
Cut them some slack.
But yeah, I think so, and I just think that he was such an unpopular. Not unpopular in the sense of nobody liking him, but people just not thinking he's the man for the job. And I think he's got to go so far to turn that around, that what he's doing is not
necessarily... He's almost got to win it in Barcelona style.
He's got to do it, yeah. It's got to be really like, wow, But I think there's a lot of ration. I think, okay, we're getting comments on here, but I think there's a broad section of fans out there, if you were to talk to them on the street, who would say, look, it's not the most exciting stuff.
But we're satisfied.
But it's better than I thought. It's as good as I thought. Or there must be a few people saying.
Pretty sensible from Gareth says, I think Slade's football is all about just utilising basic tactics. It works. It keeps clean sheets. It's not easy on the eyes. But all we're lacking is just that little bit of extra flair up top, something to just spark to go with that.
Well, I mean, personally, I'm looking at Saturday. I can't see not giving Noon a run soon. For me, he's got to be given a run. I think he was such a positive force against Preston. He had that really good start to the season. He was knocking on the door. I really think it could be time to give him a run.
He was tearing this league up a couple of years ago, wasn't he?
He was tearing the Premier League up. Well, he had a good game at Man City. You can't say that very often. But I don't know. Maybe, we're looking for the spark. Maybe that guy is the spark. We know what he's capable of. You give, and it's like Blakey always says. He doesn't say he comes in against Borough now. If he has a poor night, you don't yank him out for Bristol City. You say, right, okay, no, you've got the shirt now. Let's see what you can do. You let him build a bit of confidence, and that might be what's required.
Okay. Let's go to our other issue that we sort of put in the headline in the show based on your column today, actually, Blakey. Obviously, Wales, let's start off by talking about the success of Wales, I suppose. A great couple of weeks for Welsh football, finally there.
Welsh sport.
Welsh sport, well, yeah, I suppose Welsh sport.
Let me give the boxers a mention before we go any further. IBF featherweight champion, Selby, defended his title the other day in America. Nathan Cleverly, good fight the other night on the comeback, got busted up a bit, but real soldier, done well. And a gentleman named Dale Evans from down in Carmarthen, 10 days notice, took a fight, British title, didn't win it, but could have done, and dropped the guy in the second fantastically. So those things, having those as well on top of the rugby, they've almost been buried. So I just thought I'd give the boxers a mention. But Welsh sport at the moment, very well. But the football, to come full circle, absolutely out of this world.
Stumbled over the line a bit, maybe it didn't.
I just like to say, I like to put on record again, that when, I understood why fans were calling for Chris Coleman's head after 5 or 6 defeats. I understood that. But like I said at the time, it was unprecedented circumstances, and the situation was going to take probably a year for everyone's head to settle down and around what had happened. I was saying, judge him on the next campaign, and plenty of fans, they'll know who they are, were saying, Blakey, only saying it because he's your mate. No.
I think we said it, didn't
Yeah,
we?
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm still thinking.
Yeah, but
I won't say anything.
you know, you have to, like I say, you just never know. To prejudge is the worst thing. Yeah, judge on performance after the event. Okay, like I said, people jumped on it because it was 5 or 6 bad results, but I don't never recall a set of circumstances where a manager's been given a job and a team to take over like that.
No.
It's never been done before. So it was a first.
To play devil's advocate, could not any reasonable manager...
Oh, don't you dare.
Could not any
Don't you
reasonable
dare.
Hang on. I don't even get the chance to play devil's advocate.
Give the man, you're not playing devil's advocate. What you're doing now, you don't want to give credit where it's due.
I wanted Lars Lager back, and look what he's done. We'd have qualified 3 games earlier with Lars, for goodness sake. We'd have been...
Finish your point. Go on, what was
No,
you
I'm just
gonna say?
saying, I'm just saying, it's great. It's a brilliant show. But playing at devil's advocate, could not any half-decent manager who gets those guys wanting to play have got them over the line?
That's not a point. How can you use that as a point?
That is a point.
Well, how do you know what's a half-decent manager?
Well, I mean, somebody
Who's
who
a
knows how to
half-decent
line up a
manager?
side, to analyse
And
a
you
side.
think it's just that?
Yeah, well, he's a competent manager. Isn't the
So you're saying
isn't getting the likes of Bale and Ramsey to want to play the battle?
anybody could have done and achieved what he's achieved.
No, I'm not saying anybody, but I'm
So
saying
would you agree? Would you agree that we've had as good of, if not better, squads with more experienced managers in place than Chris Coleman and the squad he's got now, with the exception of Bale and Ramsey? You'd probably say, you know, the likes of Hughes, Rush, Neville Southall, Kevin Ratcliffe, those under an experienced manager, they didn't achieve it. How can you say, whoa,
was it more difficult to qualify back then? It was. Didn't you only the top
I'm not going to
team
win it.
go up?
Okay,
Didn't
I'm not
even the
going to
top
win it.
team? No, hang on. We don't want to argue
I'm
about
going to big him up, mate.
We don't want to argue
I'm going to
about
say
something. I'm going to big him up.
the
Congratulations.
manager deserves all the credit
He's
he
getting the
gets,
credit.
mate. And I think it's
getting
quite
the credit.
easy for people who really and truly, deep down, just don't want to admit that they were wrong.
I can't stand those kind of people. Personally. It's dreadful.
But mate, what
it's
an
good.
occasion.
It's
What
going to
an
be a
occasion.
celebration.
There's not many teams, club or country, speak about their manager in the same vein as those players have. Yeah?
Well, look at
You're
the-
talking from the likes of a player who's playing maybe at Milton Keynes, yeah, from a player who's playing all the way up to Real Madrid. That's a feat in itself, trust me, because I know going into the international team when I was a youngster, you know, there are cliques, there are, like, this is the seniors, they are the main people, these are the ones who aren't as big name as them, but they're seniors also. Then this is the juniors, these juniors play for the big clubs, these juniors play for the smaller clubs. Trust me, there is not a sniff of it, mate. And that in itself, that man management, people
That's the skill,
overlook and think,
I didn't
anyone
overlook
who's
it.
decent could just go in there and
overlook
do it.
That's exactly what I said. I said, isn't half the battle with the Wales job getting that unity?
That's
and
half the
getting
battle
those
with
guys,
any manager's
right,
job.
and getting those guys wanting to play for you. But I'm not going to, mate. It's fantastic. I can't wait to do the boot room in Paris.
Pouring water on it, man.
I can't wait for Le Bootroom. Or is it La Boot? I don't know how.
Le Boutique.
Goodness knows how it'll
Le
work.
Boutique.
But you know what they'll make us do? Dress up in berets and that, and do it here, and pretend we're in Paris.
Okay.
You'll have an accordion.
Roy here says, you know, I didn't want Chris as Wales manager, but I eat my words. As it were. Does Chris Coleman offer Russell Slade hope? Because here's a man who not many people really wanted. He was slammed for
I think
the
Chris
opening
is
period
different.
of his tenure, but he's turned it around. And the fans love him now.
Obviously, offer him hope, but I think it's different in the sense that this is the international. Chris is Welsh. And the difference is Chris played at the highest level and has managed at the highest. Done well at Fulham, let's not forget. He done well at Fulham, played and managed at the highest level before taking the manager's job in the circumstances at which he took him. I just think Russell, while he's got the experience is of what fans would deem lesser in the lower leagues. And I think, if I'm totally honest, that's probably the biggest hurdle he's got to overcome. Is to prove he has still got to prove himself. If he's successful, and successful is an 8th, 9th, successful is promotion. If he's successful, then I think even if he got to the playoff final and lost, I think most people would say, see, he just didn't have quite enough to get him where he needs to get them. So I don't think he's ever going to win unless he's wins promotion, wins promotion to the Premier League, and then finishes like 14th or something like that. I think then fans would go, okay, I'll swallow my words.
Probably our fans are going to go, only 14.
But as using it as a parallel against Chris, that's what Steve would have to say. Okay, in my opinion, then he's overachieved. He's actually done what we all thought was the impossible. Okay. So maybe you have to overachieve in order to get your recognition.
No, it's a good point. But what about this issue then? You mentioned the fact Coleman had played for Wales and the whole Welsh thing. Does it matter if you're a Cardiff City and Wales fan? Does it hurt the fact that basically there are no Cardiff City players in the Welsh squad? Declan John, obviously, but he's not really.
Cardiff only have themselves to blame. I've said it before. Here we go. We'll have people from the club saying, "Oh, Nathan Blakey's on." Blakey's
Who's that in the club that sounds like that?
Stirring it again.
Is that the
but it's no good saying,
general
I'm not here to stir nothing. I'm just saying, you just need to listen before you start looking over here and saying we're stirring it. Look in your own backyard. Yeah. Ask yourself why. Never mind Wales. Have a look at the first team. How many homegrown talents have come through the academy, which is running at the cost of I don't know how many millions, and how many 50, 60 odd players, 70 odd players probably, between the development, the under 21s, the 18s. There's probably 60 players. Ask yourself why none of them are in the first team. Ask yourself why you over the last 3 years, 4 years, you've gone and bought. You know, you're not going to get in. How can you say we're not producing Cardiff players for Wales? You're not producing Cardiff players for Cardiff.
You reap what you sow.
Correct the mundo.
Christian says, I will never understand why clubs spend untold millions buying talent from other clubs when it would be far more sensible to spend the time and effort developing their own. It's a system that works. Look at Southampton.
Christian, it's called a philosophy. I'm believing in it, I'm following it, and having a plan. Like I've said on this show many a times, it's my belief that Cardiff do not have a philosophy as a club.
You mentioned some of the names here, Joe Ledley, Chris Gunter, Adam Matthews, Darcy Blake. Maybe a slightly different point, but he's saying about how these players have been let go far too easily, but they're not even coming through that. Why from that relatively
Josh Shorrough, Shepherds, Regan Poole,
just gone to
Newport. There's a lad, what's his name, scored for, used to be a goalkeeper at Cardiff.
Oh, Josh McGuinness.
McGuinness scored the other day. They're littered. They're littered around the leagues that have come through Cardiff system and been deemed not good enough for Cardiff, but then have gone on to have careers at a high-level club or as high as Cardiff.
Is the academy system at Cardiff fundamentally flawed? Then is that the take on it? I mean, I'm not without picking on any individuals that saying you're rubbish or whatever. I mean, is there something?
Well, it's got to be fundamentally flawed if you've not got a flow into the first team. Now, it's not just. Listen, I'm not going to just blame the club because players have got to take responsibility. Players too often, 19, 20, get a contract at 18, and say a 2-year contract. They're not really concerned with, now I've got to take that next step to get into the first team. They're concerned with, what's the deals going on at Mercedes? Let me go to John Lewis and get my Louis Vuitton bag. Let me go and get my Jacobs watch. They fall into that trap of being in love with the idea of being a footballer, but don't realise you could be a professional for 2 or 3 years. If you ain't played no first team games or you've played 3 or 4, mate, let me tell you something. I could list thousands of kids, thousands of players who have had a year or 2 as a pro. Some even have made 8, 9, 10 appearances. The idea is, I keep saying to kids, the idea is you've got to have a strength and a determination to once you've got that contract as a pro, you don't go, It never stops in football. It's right, Now I've got to go again and get to the first team. Right, now I've got to establish myself as a first team player. Now I want to be the top number 1 in the first team. Now I want to go on and play in the Premier League. If it's not with Cardiff, then I want to play with a bigger club. And bam, bam, bam. You can't look at yesterday's result and go, whew, I'm set. Mate, because you finish Saturday, Tuesday's coming. And that's how football is. It's continual. Striving. So it's not just, I can't just say it's Cardiff City and the academy. It's a combination of both, right? And I had this conversation with people at other clubs, academies, and first team managers who will all say the exact same thing. When you got a kid at 18, you give him a pro contract, and he's able to go and spend money like a first team player, i.e. go and buy a brand new Mercedes. Listen, even if you can afford it, my point is, don't think and do it. Try and just worry about chase the football. That's my motto. Chase the football. Everything you want will come with it. Chase the money, the cars, the girls, the clubbing, whatever. Chase all that.
I tell you what, it sounds a great way to fail, though.
Chase all that. Exactly. Sounds a great way to fail, and believe me, chase all those trappings and you will fail. It's as simple as that, mate. So
you were lucky when you had all the money, the cars, the girls, and you were successful as well. That was all right.
What can I say?
Blakey had the best of both worlds, as usual.
So,
what I would say about, just to bring it back to the lack of Cardiff representation in Wales' squad now, does it not feel a bit like with Ramsey in there, with Bale, born in Cardiff? Ramsey's from Caerphilly, but I mean Bale, born in Cardiff, Ledley. Well, no, I feel like there is Cardiff representation. I know they're not. I mean, obviously Ramsey starts at Cardiff. I don't feel completely alienated from them. Going, my God, who are all these people? None of them play for Cardiff. You feel, Bale, which and proud of his home city. I would love as much as anyone to think the Wales midfield had a couple of big Cardiff players in there.
There's no suggestion that the Wales team of 5-10 years time is going to have any Cardiff players in at the minute.
No, that's the problem.
The way it's going.
It's not. That's the problem. Is you can't turn around and go, oh, Johnny Phillips at least he's coming through.
Listen,
we've
already had that point on this show where people have said that Cardiff's academy isn't now the number 1 academy in Wales.
Well, there's always talk of Swansea coming into Cardiff,
right? Because Swansea have now said, well, if you're not going, we will. It's as simple as that. I know. Listen, it
pains me to say, the day a Cardiff player comes up through those ranks and starts playing for Swansea's first team at like 19 in the Premier League, there's going to be ruction.
I know Cardiff fans whose children they would prefer, if not already, are at Swansea Academy before going to Cardiff's Academy.
Got more chance of making it, basically, is it?
They just think it's a better standard of coaching. It's as simple as that.
Russell Slade's aware of this, so he's spoken before about and he actually said the other day at his presser about there being a duty. Was that the word?
He said we feel a responsibility to produce somebody for the national side. I mean, obviously, because he probably is not his big focus.
Okay, you can say it. Let me just say this. You can say it, yeah, and it sounds great, and you're ticking a box, but you can then look at your academy and your club and the way it's structured and be serious with that argument. Simple as that.
I spoke to him in the summer
For me,
about
anyway. It sounds great. It's almost a soundbite to me. Yeah? To me, you don't talk about it. Just get on and do it. Make sure the academy is structured right. Make sure you got players, those kids are in the right frame of mind. So they don't think, okay, at 20, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, but you've got no first team appearances under your belt. That's what it's all about for me. That determines whether you're a professional footballer or not. Are you playing in the first team? 21's development, la-di-la-di-la, doesn't mean a thing. Yeah, so when when parents are like, oh, they're so super excited that my kid's he's in the under 21s and blah, 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 they're thinking it's just a matter of time. But it's not happening. It's not happening.
To Slade about
and it's fault on both sides for me anyway.
Spoke to Slade about it in the summer, and the academy, and he said must do better. That was, but you know, basically in a nutshell, what he said. He said, yes, there's massive room for improvement. We've got to do better on it. As Blakey just said, what practical steps he's taking or the club are taking towards that?
Making sure, listen, you go from your junior academy, you make sure first and foremost your scouting is good. Yeah, your recruitment, scouting, recruitment. That is the most. But
that's exactly what Slade said on the weekend. He said you recruit mediocrity, you coach mediocrity.
Right. Then but let me say this to Russell. You got to make sure that if your coaches are mediocre, then they're going to produce mediocre players. Because I know Cardiff, going back, have recruited very, very good, and the coaching hasn't been great. Right? I know for a fact, and they can come on and say what they like, right? But I'll throw examples all over the place if I need, right? So it's not just your recruitment, yeah? If you recruit mediocre, you coach mediocre, okay, but it flips the other way, surely, yeah? If you recruit in very good and your coaches are mediocre, right? Because I know people who have wanted to be a coach for 2 minutes, went and got their B license or whatever, and were in at Cardiff City. Why? How? Yeah? I'm not saying you've had to play the game, but you can't come out of a college and doing a course for 3-6 months, wherever the B license takes, and go straight into a professional club as in charge of the 18s or in charge of the 16s or in charge of the 14s. Or, mate, you've got to have some experience. Put someone who's played the game alongside him. Yeah? If you started to coach, John, I'm sure you first thing you do is say, Nath, you know, can you give me some tips? And I would be more than willing to say to you, well, look, John, that's what's happened there. That's why that's resulted in that. So don't let him do that again. Yeah? Mate, it's not just, it's recruitment, it's coaching, and then you've got to have a realistic route through to the first team. So then you say, right, your players, mentally, they've got to be right. They've got to be in the right place. They've got to understand that this game isn't about money, cars. It's not. It's about playing games. That was it for me. As long as I'm playing, I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to, you know, we all like the finer things in life, but I didn't even think of those things till I got to Bolton. And I left Cardiff and went to Sheffield Premier League, but I didn't think of, a new car, this, that, and the other, till I got to Bolton Wanderers.
Then you got a really nice
Then I got a really nice
yeah. Hey, you deserved it by then, mate. You deserved a nice
No, but do you understand what I mean? The fault isn't just with the club, and it isn't just with the players. They, you know, and that's what I say, the whole, there's so many things at the club which I think to myself, man, you make life so difficult for yourselves.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And Russell Slade's one man, mind. He can't do it all.
No.
There's chief execs, there's head of academies, there's the head of the coaching teams, whether that's 18s, 14s, 16s, whatever. You need to group together, you need to find out why. And if you don't think I've got the right man in the right place doing the right job, get someone who can do the job better. Simple as that. I always say, sentiment in football doesn't work. It's no good me bringing in John because I like him and he's my mate, and Tux, because first of all, can John do the job? And not go out and coach mediocre or go out and coach okay. I want John to be a top-notch, potentially can go all the way coach. That's what I want. It's not difficult.
Yeah, it's interesting talking point. It won't go away, will it?
No.
Well, put it this way, just don't hold your breath for a Cardiff
It's
player.
going the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's the worry.
Yeah. All right then. Let's finish up with our usual predictions then for tomorrow night. Cardiff Borough.
What?
Two great footballing sides.
Proud tradition.
Sort of.
Proud tradition.
Borough third, 21 points. Cardiff 8th, 17 points. Cardiff only lost 2 matches so far this season.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really on the fence-ish and say 1-1 draw. Because that's the kind of thing I can see happening, like a kind of draw.
Yeah.
And both of them,
You can put your tights on later.
How do you know I haven't got them on now? Look, I've got the desk here.
I'm going to go for, and this would be typical for me, Cardiff to go to Rotherham and lose, go to Brighton, get a point, and beat Borough. Draw at Preston and beat Borough. So I'm going to go 2-1 Cardiff.
Very interesting.
And that would if they win, it'll tell me a lot about Cardiff. And we'll
A
discuss that next
defining
week.
game.
Well, key game. It's the 12th
game.
12th game. Winning, they could be in the playoffs. Losing, they could be, I think, down to 14th or something like that. You know,
It is a telling game.
It is. It's a pivotal little game.
We will
isn't it?
speak about this next Monday.
Yeah,
It
we
will
shall.
be
Yeah,
very
we shall.
interesting.
We definitely
Very
will chat about
interesting because it'll say a lot. If Cardiff
Seven-side
win.
derby coming up as well.
That's another one.
It's going to be fun.
Do we? Is that Saturday?
No, it's Monday.
It's Monday, yeah, which may
Okay.
have connotations for the Bootroom next week. We may have to switch it.
Okay,
to the
Tuesday.
Day. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay.
Be good to do it the
because
morning
we'll
after
have
the
to
night
do it
before.
the Bristol. We'll have to do a Bootroom for the Bristol City game. I mean, you know, fans been looking forward to that for a
Quite
long
looking
time.
forward to that one. Yeah.
So it tells me the away support will be on it.
Well, they're all being bussed in again, wasn't it? Was the talk?
But it's good. I mean, hopefully there'll be no issues and all the rest of it. It's good to have it's good to actually have a game.
A derby,
a bit of a buzz.
feisty
Yeah, I
one.
hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to think
Yeah.
so.
There's 40 odd games in a season with Cardiff. And
Yeah,
too
and
many
nothing
of
to
them
look
are just
forward
like,
to.
They're just
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
so it's Rotherham this
Blasé,
week,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it's good to
You
Yeah.
want those Swansea,
Yeah,
Bristol
it's good.
derbies, then yeah.
Good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Bring back Wrexham and all that, I see.
Steady on.
Crikey.
Steady on.
More chance of
Used
seeing
to
a
love
Cardiff
that.
player in the
Swansea
Wales
derby,
side.
Wrexham derby, Bristol derby.
I never really looked upon the Wrexham game as a bit of as a derby personally. I just
No, because
it was like too far away.
Oh, mate, Welsh
Hey,
flag
have you
on
ever
Welsh
driven
flag.
to Wrexham? It's a nightmare.
Welsh flag or Welsh flag, man. I used to
No
love
people
that
from North
derby.
Wales don't like you already. That's not.
People in South Wales don't like me that much
They're not so
either.
keen, are they? No.
And down
house don't
west,
like
they're not
you.
that keen. They're not that
People in this office don't like you. What between me?
I'm kind of not the kind of guy who takes things to heart, or I would be having a bad time with it. But no, that would be exciting. The seven-side
Yeah,
derby.
indeed. All right, chaps, good stuff. We'll leave it there for today.
Cheers.
It's good to be back with you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all your comments. We'll have live coverage of that Cardiff game tomorrow night, 7:45. I assume, is it, Tux?
Yes, 7:45 kickoff. Be there or be
7:45,
square.
Indeed, indeed. Be there, be square, and we'll see you next time.